Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm Andy Bernstein, your host. Really happy to be bringing another episode in our continuing series of legendary sports photographers. My guest today is the iconic Atiba Jefferson. And I say iconic, I don't say that slightly. This guy is iconic in two worlds, the world of skating and skating photography and the world of basketball. He has merged both of those, which we spend some time talking about on the podcast, how the two worlds, the two cultures have met, and he's been at the forefront of that. So I'm very proud of him for that. He started off, I guess, as one of my assistants back in the day. We talked a lot about a photo shoot that I did with Kobe Bryant, I think in Kobe's second season around 1998, I guess, at Jimmy Goldstein's iconic house. And our relationship took off from there. He's a great friend, fantastic photographer. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation with the great Atiba Jefferson. As always, see you guys on the backside. Welcome, my good friend Atiba Jefferson, to the Legends of Sport podcast, the Legendary Photographers series. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Obviously the times are crazy right now, but I'm thinking positive. I'm staying positive, and just honored to be here talking to someone who has changed my life immensely
Wow.
as a photographer and one of the biggest influences on my career.
Well, we can end the podcast right there. The shortest podcast, LOS podcast history. Thanks for coming. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, man, you know I love you too, and we got a lot of history. So I was trying to remember when we first met, like the moment we first met, and I couldn't remember it because one, I'm old, and B, I just don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably I was probably a blip on your radar.
No.
The first moment we met, and I've been looking at this, was when I had known who you were.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a big fan, and that's what's cool about this is pre-social media. There was a thing called the internet, but no one was sure how to use it yet.
Right.
So it wasn't like AndyBernstein.com was up and I was looking at it.
Uh-huh.
I had got your books.
Oh,
What is the one with Jordan on the
that's NBA Hoop Shots, which came
yeah,
out.
NBA Hoop
Dude,
Shots.
that came out in like 95 or something.
Well, yeah, that's when
How old were
for
you in
me,
95?
I never went to an NBA game in
Right.
Colorado because I couldn't afford it, and
Mhm.
it was far. We were an hour outside of Denver. That wasn't an option. So for me, uh, when I moved to California, I moved to
Mhm.
San Diego. The first thing was like, I want to go to a Lakers game.
Right.
And being a photographer, you think, let's bring a camera.
Mhm.
So I had brought my camera to the game, and I had been like poaching. I'd been sneaking this camera in the game, Kobe's rookie year, everything.
Yep.
And my brother was working for this magazine that was buying photos off Joe Amati.
Mhm.
And Joe Amati, love him to death. Also another guy who's changed my life immensely. Head of NBA photos, and amongst other things, he's very high up
Mhm.
uh, in the NBA. And
Yep.
he
Yep.
was like, we always look for young talent. And at this time I was studying Slam magazine. So I'm also a skateboard photographer. So I did the same thing. I studied the greats in skateboarding, Grant Brinton, Spike Jones, and I did the same in basketball.
Yep.
And Slam had come out. So Slam was a big magazine to see basketball from the eyes of someone from a younger audience.
Mm.
Sports Illustrated was not really so much the magazine I looked at. ESPN, I can't remember when it all kind of blended in the same, but Slam was my voice. It
Right.
was young, it was hip hop, it was
Yeah.
everything that I loved about basketball.
Mhm.
And so I was looking at that, and then like skateboard photography, you studied the photo credit. So I knew who Andy Haight was, I know who Fernando Medina was, like I knew who everyone was, because before looking at that byline, I kind of really only knew who Walter Yost was. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like before that byline in Slam, I would not have really found you. And then I found the book, And I was like, whoa, my whole world was blown away as a photographer, because I think sports photography is such an amazing, complex thing, but sometimes not given credit for artistic value.
Yeah.
I think sports photography and what you do really changed my life once I got to sit and study you one on one and assist you. And that stuff, you know, it's like sports photography to me, in this world where like, abstract art is something that's discussed. If you really take a step back and look at sports photography from our artistic point of view, it's very complex. And I never knew that until I started working with you. I
Interesting.
veered off track.
No, but I think was it Garrett Elwood, my assistant
Well,
at the time, the great Garrett
y-
Elwood.
yes. So that back to the story.
Yeah.
So Joe Amati's like, yo, I want to, set you up to meet these LA guys. So he's like, set me up. I met Garrett at a Clipper game,
Right.
and it was at the sports arena.
Sure.
And Jimmy Jackson had just traded to someone. I wanted to say, I can't remember. I have the photo somewhere.
Hmm.
But he had just traded. So it was like a big game. It was really fun to look at sports through like traditional uh, media way, not internet, not Instagram.
Yeah.
And, it was a big deal. Garrett had to get these photos of him to get to Joe because, he changed the jersey. So I sat with Garrett, sucked it all in. It was amazing. I was on the court, no longer the kid who was like sneaking around, get back to your seat, because I was in the nosebleeds with my camera down on the lower floor. He then goes, hey, I want to introduce you to Andy, get you in the circle, because he was leaving.
Yeah. Right. He was leaving.
And
Right.
then it was
He got the job in Charlotte. Right. The job in
exactly,
Charlotte opened up, and he and I talked about it, and it was a great opportunity for him. And then I talked to Joe, and ball
yeah,
got rolling, and it was a
yeah,
great fit for him. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And my dates are a little wonky because
Yeah.
I can't remember if the Jimmy Jackson game happened. There was a game, the last season of the Forum is what year? It's 90,
97 and 98.
98.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I went to the last home game, I think
Hmm.
it was.
Yeah.
And that's where I met you. And
Gotcha.
Garrett brought me in to shoot that game.
Right. Right.
And I have a crazy 360 dunk of Kobe,
Wait, hold on.
with the afro.
Now I'm
And
trying to see if no, this isn't it. I had a picture, but that it's from the Staples Center, so it's okay. I'll show you that one in a minute. So that
okay,
so that was the beginning, right? And then I just want to talk about your story for a second because grew up in Manitou Springs, Colorado, which
yeah,
I know really well because my dad lived in Colorado Springs and I went there quite often.
hmm
And you were a skateboarder and a hooper growing up,
hmm
right? But
Well, I didn't play hoops.
yeah, but you were
Um,
skating, right?
Skating, 100%,
Okay,
yes, and
so
loved
where
basketball.
do you skate in Manitou Springs? I mean,
Well, I mean, Manitou Springs.
yeah,
Manitou Springs is a town. It has two stoplights.
right, right.
There's five cops, so you can count the cop cars so you could speed through town.
Yeah,
If all five were at the station,
right.
you just sped through town.
Yeah. It's a beautiful
You
little
know,
town, though,
it
right?
is beautiful. Humble
Yeah.
brag, just bought my mom a house there.
Wow.
So I moved my
Yep.
mom back there on Christmas.
Oh man,
So
beautiful.
she lives in a nice little wood
Yeah.
cabin in
Hmm.
Crystal Park.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Mhm.
appreciate it. And growing up, once I started skating, I started. Me and my brother started busboying.
Mhm.
We were 12. We lied and said we were 13 at this Mexican restaurant downtown Manitou. We grew up really poor,
Right.
single mom of three, welfare, food stamps, the whole nine. But she was working the whole time. It wasn't due to an addiction or anything like that. The
Yeah.
odds were against her.
Mhm.
And, so it was tough around the house. And then we picked up a skateboard and fell in love with that. And it changed our lives.
Yeah.
We didn't skate much around Manitou because it wasn't good, because it's a mountain town,
Yeah.
the
Right.
foot of Pikes Peak, literally. But we'd go to downtown Colorado Springs. There's
Yeah.
a park called Acacia Park, and that changed my life. That and you know, Colorado Springs is a melting pot of culture
Mhm.
because there is right-wing Christians,
Mhm.
there is military,
A
which
lot of
brings
military. Yeah.
all races, you know, from
Mhm.
the Air Force Academy to the Army,
Yep.
and then there's Colorado College,
Mhm.
which is this really forward liberal thinking, you know, very famous college. So
You know,
to
my
me,
dad my dad went to school there. You knew that, right?
that's
Colorado
right.
College
Yes, yes, absolutely.
after World War
A-
II. Yeah.
which is so crazy.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like, you know, 20 years I've known you, now I'm like, wow, that is mind blowing. When I was 20 years old, I
Right.
was like, oh, cool. Um, you know,
Yeah.
but it really showed me, you know, and Manitou is a predominantly white town
Mhm.
and it's very cowboy. It wasn't super rednecky now that I know what I know now. I
Yeah.
didn't experience racism like people would do in the South and
Mhm.
that at that time. But you know, it was obviously I was a big minority and going down to Colorado Springs and being with people of all different races
Mhm.
was great because then you just learn things. And skateboarding is just very street culture. You're, you know, around homeless people and all this stuff. And you're seeing it from this kid from Manitou. You're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But, you
Well,
know, at that same time, uh, Showtime was happening
mhm.
and I fell in love with basketball.
Yeah.
And, you know, Michael Jordan happened and I
Sure.
just loved watching it.
Mhm.
And then the Denver Nuggets beat the Seattle Supersonics, and
I
we all
covered that
became it.
series. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
amazing.
and
Yeah.
we all became basketball fans. And a big thing that I contribute to it is NBA Jam.
Mm. Really?
NBA
Mhm.
Jam was such a huge game. I grew up right down the street from the Manitou Springs arcade.
Uh-huh.
And once I could play NBA Jam, it was over.
That's
It
all.
literally like it is crazy to think like that's how because you didn't have sports on we didn't have cable.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, highlights weren't coming in. So NBA Jam taught me every player's name that
Yeah.
I didn't know besides Magic Johnson, you know, Kareem, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, BJ. Those were like you only kind of knew those guys, you know. I didn't even Larry Bird was like, ugh, you know. But the NBA Jam
Yeah.
taught me all these other players and then it was really a great eye-opening experience and I really you know was this skater
Mhm.
that like secretly was a jock.
So you come to California, you're 18, you and your brother, right?
Yeah.
And you your first job is to assist Grant Britton, right?
Yep.
Photo
Yep.
editor at Trans World, which is
Yeah.
uh,
And a photographer, you
and a
know,
photographer, right?
yes,
The
he's one
skating
of the great.
magazine, right?
Yep.
So
Hmm.
you're merging your love for skating, photography. You got this basketball interest. So it seems like all these worlds are colliding, right? You and
Yeah.
I meet, right? And all of a sudden, I'm fast forwarding a lot here, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you and I are doing this shoot with Kobe at Jimmy Goldstein's house,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I'm gonna bring the picture up from that
The
shoot.
ad magic.
So, do you see it? You
Yeah.
see,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
I
So,
remember it like
so
yesterday.
this is the photo of Kobe. No, that's not it. Well, you're seeing it, right? So
Yeah, I see
you're
it.
seeing Kobe at reflected in Jimmy's pool, right?
Yeah.
And what a crazy shoot that was.
So, I mean, you
To say
look
the least.
back, you look back at that because to me, that was right when, you know, there's so many moments and I don't know how much time we have, but
Well,
I
like
could keep
40. Yeah.
talking forever. But like there was nothing more special because we did fast forward, but I want to rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
Garrett left and you know we were dealing with the lockout and
Mm-hmm.
I was calling all the time like dude what's up with like I want to work with Andy and
Yeah.
he's like I don't know what to tell you the lockout happened and that was the beginning of the season right that
Yes.
shoot
Yes, that was 99. That was
yes and I
1999.
remember at that you gave me a credential
I did?
and yeah because that's when I started working the games
Damn. I didn't
and
know that.
you know that was
Yeah.
such a big moment for me and that shoot
Mm-hmm.
it was so cool to see because this was you know Kobe's hype was building
Yeah.
but he was still not the champion yet,
Yeah.
but the way he worked for that shoot and your guys' dynamic was
Yeah.
great. Like he was always just he was already at that point interested in what the photo shoot was gonna be. I mean, you worked with him so many times. You know how he was. Like he wanted to be involved, but
Yeah.
it was interesting because he was so young, still curious, but still so involved. I mean, we did how many different looks? We
Dude,
were
we spent the entire day up there. You and I went up there the day before to scout.
yep, tech scout, yeah.
And just a little backstory, Jimmy Goldstein has this iconic house in Bel Air on Benedict
It's
Canyon,
crazy.
was so generous to let us use the house for the shoot, which was an LA Times magazine fashion shoot, which makes no sense because I'm not a fashion photographer.
Yeah.
But I guess, they wanted to have a guy with a camera in front of him who he knew, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I
They
didn't
picked the
really know
right
him
guy.
like that well at that point.
Yeah,
But he came up and we thought we'd get, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half out of him
yeah,
for like 4 hours on this shoot. We did probably
yeah,
12 to 15 different situations, changes of
yeah,
clothes. We like ran out
yeah.
of clothes, as I remember. So I had this harebrained idea to shoot on tungsten film, right? As you remember,
Yes, I fully
which,
remember.
which tungsten film in daylight makes everything look super saturated blue, like this sort of weird blue color. And then I had you with this wacky spotlight, this strobe speedotron spotlight,
Hmm.
probably 6 inches away from him out of frame, maybe,
Totally.
maybe about 2 feet away from him, but out of frame. And you were just following him around with this crazy spotlight that I was triggering by radio. And it was wacky, but we got some
Yeah.
stuff out of that.
Yeah, and didn't we put CTO on the front of it for some of
Yeah, I don't
it?
know. I
So
don't remember, but yeah,
I remember all that. I
but
mean, it was such a big deal for me. Like
it,
I was so nervous to be working with you, and then also to be like holding, like, because everything happened so fast.
fast,
I
yeah,
had helped Garrett. All of a sudden, I was shooting
yeah,
to being with Andy Bernstein.
yeah,
We'd not met each other much before that, and I'll take this time to say that's what's so amazing about you is, dude, I was at that point, I think 20,
yeah,
like a 20-year-old kid, dude, does not know what you're doing. Like, no offense to any 20-year-old kid, and especially when photography, I'm at the top
mhm,
of the best photographer. Like, I'm in a Lamborghini at I'm in a Lamborghini at 20 years old. Like, what do I do?
yeah,
And it was so great you took the time. And I say this advice to every young photographer is,
mhm,
dude, assisting is the biggest key into learning, and take your time and pay attention.
yeah,
That's the free
sure,
education you're going to get.
mhm,
Is for me, you'll get paid to help, but the
yeah,
free education
mhm,
is paying attention to everything you do, because when you work with a master, that knowledge is priceless. And
well,
that's what I got from you.
thank you for that, and it was fun, and you were a great assistant to say the least, and we got some
I never assisted
but
anyone.
but dude, you had a
It's
great
crazy.
you're just your presence and like your rap with Kobe was great as I remember, and it kind of that's really important because I don't have the greatest directing skills of all time, and it was just a great marriage of all of us
Yeah.
working together. And then
No, it was.
and then do you remember this shoot? I came across this picture. This was some sprite shoot
Wow.
that we did.
Sprite shoot. Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
a little
I
grainy.
remember it all,
Yeah,
because
that was
it
fun.
was
Yeah.
so that was an all-star, right?
No, I don't, maybe I don't think so. I don't think
I well, we set it up in a hotel.
it was in a hotel. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't remember. But it was
I
some
for
kind of
some
crazy
reason, well,
sprite
I
shoot,
felt like we were on the road
right?
for some reason. I remember the hotel and being like, so this is how you set everything up when you're not, because I also helped you on the shoot at Smashbox too.
Right. That's maybe that was it. I think that was it. If it was a Smashbox or
We did
Fifth and
both.
Sunset or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Was it? Yeah, it might have been what, Fifth and Sunset.
yeah, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, how funny are those studio
Yeah.
names, man?
That's the shoot we waited for him for like 5 hours, and then he showed up. He's like,
Yes.
"Are you guys ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, we played like 900 games of ping pong. Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally,
it was
totally,
awesome.
totally. Yeah, no.
So Teebs, I got to understand, and with our audience really needs to understand, because you have become a legend, not only in skating, right? Because you and your brother, fixtures and like legendary photographers and across the board in skating, and have elevated skating on the photography side to way beyond an art form, right? It's a cultural art form. Um, and I got to get into your history with Slam Magazine too, right? But
Mhm.
the convergence of the two is just fascinating to me. Ryan Barcena had a great quote, and you probably know this quote, but he's a guy that you work with at Rocket, right? Rocket
Yeah,
Design.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Ryan says about skateboarding and basketball, he says, growing up as millennials and as Southern Californians, there's a certain culture that exists between basketball and skateboarding. That distinct crossover between sports that seem like they shouldn't go together is where the brand comes from. Which
Yeah.
is fascinating, because I would never thought that personally.
Yeah, no, like I said, basketball was always like this like thing I didn't really talk to people about,
Hmm.
besides me and Aqua being fans. Like our other skaters in downtown Colorado Springs, it wasn't like,
Yeah.
yo, Nuggets. And then I moved to California and I met Eric Costin,
Hmm.
and him and Rick Howard were the biggest Laker fans. I was like, oh, it's okay, it's cool, and so I
Yeah.
was fine with it, going to the games. Like I went to that Jordan Clipper double overtime game and stuck
Yeah.
my camera in there. I didn't realize I
Yeah.
was capturing history.
Right.
But I think basketball is a team sport,
Hmm.
but it's also played one like by yourself, in the sense of like football's really hard to train on your own.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
basketball and skateboarding have that similarity. If you want to go, I mean, they're from the street, first of
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
It's a street thing. Both are done in the street. But you can go outside on your own and do it on your own. And all you really need is that object in your shoes.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the similarity. And that you don't need a quarterback. You don't need golf clubs, of course, and the ball. You just need this thing. And I think that's what's so special about it, is because you use the mindset of, okay, this shot I got to do this trick I got to do this. There's so much muscle memory that go to it. But my biggest thing with basketball and skateboarding, it's a street thing,
Mm.
and that will always be the unified tie. Because I always say, to see the world and culture from the best perspective, and I sit in that gutter shooting photos, is from the street. Because in the streets are all types of people. Once you are a golfer, you're kind of a country club dude, which is an isolated environment that isn't really reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Football, if you're on a football field, you're in this isolated reality. If
Yeah.
you're in basketball and you're on a street court, which most of it is until you make it into a upper level school thing, you're in the street, you're seeing people fight, you're seeing all the realities of street. And the realities of the street is just an energy that is always going to be moving and creating and being different. And I think if basketball didn't have street culture, it wouldn't be the freshest sport out there. Personally, that's what I think. And
Wow.
that's the same with skateboarding,
I love that. That's an incredible explanation.
Yeah, well,
Huge.
I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
when I got to know basketball players, because I didn't play a lot as a kid.
Right.
But once I got engulfed into this culture, and especially that's one thing that Slam did give me different than the NBA. You know how it is when we shoot with the NBA, we're kind of in a bubble. It's a
Yeah.
great bubble to be in.
Yeah.
You have the
Right.
best seats in the house, but you're in a bubble.
Yeah.
And with Slam, I was shooting street ballers, I was shooting high schoolers, I was getting this perspective, and all those worlds had converged
Hmm.
at the same time for me. And you're getting like, and loving hip hop and loving hip hop culture, that was a big part of basketball. But one thing that I want to say just real quickly, I don't know if it's one of the things you wanted to talk about, was that the photography aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
want to pull up some pictures while you're talking, because I want to show some of your skating pictures.
yeah. And one thing that I really, a lot of people talk about me using a Hasselblad.
Hmm.
This is a 4x5, which,
This is
I
four by
was,
five.
that's a
Holy
four by
crap,
five, a 4x5 slide
dude!
of Tony Hawk.
That
But
is,
if you go to the other Tony Hawk photo, the loop,
yeah,
there's a loop photo
yeah,
of him.
yeah, yeah. Hold on.
And that's great because that's a Hasselblad. So, this might be too tech talk. I
No, no,
don't know
no,
how
no,
many
no.
real photographers are on here,
Well, we've
but
talked
this
about
camera,
it. Hmm.
I've changed my life. And between the lighting
Yeah,
of that last photo and this camera,
yeah,
Andy Bernstein changed my life, which changed and made me a huge, what people thought great photographer in skateboarding, but I was just emulating what Andy was doing. And that was using high speed sync with the leaf shutter and a Hasselblad. And when I assisted you, I looked at that and went, oh my God, that's amazing. Like I can literally, we were only shooting 35 millimeter at 250 of a sync. So
yeah.
when I took the knowledge I got from you about 500th with a leaf shutter, I
Mm.
had this look that everybody, once it first came out in Transworld, everyone's like, oh my God. I mean, people had done it before, but no one made it their primary camera.
Well,
So I was taking
yeah,
what I was learning from basketball and bringing it into skating. And
yeah,
at the same time, taking my skateboarding angles, fish eyes and stuff to, specifically like slam and doing this kind of raw street photography for basketball.
yeah. Well,
It
hold
was like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? And I was like,
on.
kind of laughing because I was like, oh, I'm just bringing these worlds together.
Yeah.
I'm taking what I know from each world and
Right.
bringing it together, which, gave me this different perspective
Hmm.
that continued to keep me, I just shot my 100th cover of Slam,
Amazing.
and that's something I never thought that would happen, and
What's the deal?
skateboarding.
What's the deal with this picture? This.
This is, I always laugh at this. This picture is what I say I'll be remembered for. This is, I mean, you have too many of those moments, I must say. But this is a thing, that's called Wild in the Streets, and it was an event on Go Skateboarding Day, where just skateboarders get together. It's almost like a protest, and we take over the streets and we skate through the streets.
Wow.
So you stop traffic. It's like
Yeah.
critical mass on bicycles. So you go to skate spots along the way. And this photo is really dear and special to me,
Hmm.
not only because there's a couple things about this photo. Not only because I pre-visualized this photo 2 years before, didn't have my camera on me. I think it was you who told me only good photographers are ones that have a camera on them. But I I was extremely hungover when I shot this photo and did not want to battle the crowd. But I just sat back and I saw this moment happen. And it's a photo that everyone loves, and it's so simple. It's like available light. I
It's a
was just
sick,
sitting back going
sick
like,
picture. I mean, it really
this crowd, yeah, this
is.
crowd is more amazing. I shot it, didn't think anything of it. I was like, I wanted this picture.
Yeah.
Normally in skateboarding, people in the background is terrible, but this one,
Oh,
just the
dude.
energy is just it's unbelievable. And
No.
the funny thing about being known for this photographer, and I feel like, this is like when you're in an event where everybody now has a camera,
Yeah.
photo's not so special. It's kind of funny, there's plenty of people with that angle.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
just lucky to have it
to
out
me,
there in the world.
it's an absolutely classic picture, and every
Yeah,
single person is looking and paying attention and
yeah,
engaged, and
yeah,
you are just recording the moment. That's what
yeah.
we do.
That's what we do. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
even me, not to, I know it's a really heated time we're in right now.
Yeah.
But I chose to protest on Saturday,
Mhm. Mhm.
and my biggest thing was my camera is my sign.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to express myself is my
Sure.
camera, and I felt so lucky to be able to document it peacefully because that's how I believe in it. I'm not down for the violence and
No,
stuff,
I hear you, man.
but to be able to show the pain this country is going through my camera
Mhm.
is your best weapon. And I learned that from you. I remember you telling me, um I was so focused to shoot the dunk or the drive, the crossover.
You mean like
And
this picture?
Yes, yes, that's me droning. We could talk about droning
Oh my God. Were you
forever.
droning during this? Did,
Oh yeah, dude, I droned so
what?
much, bro. I mean, I have it on my wall. Hold on,
Wait,
let me
hold on,
get
because
the.
for people who don't really get the drone thing, so
Yeah,
I,
we
I
could talk about
triggered,
this for a while.
I triggered you. That's what the
Yeah,
drone.
so a drone is, I mean, you could explain it better,
No,
but
we've
it's a
explained it, about the Jordan last second shot and the whole thing, but I didn't realize that this was a drone picture.
yes,
Oh,
dude. I'm not getting the lights, bro. Like that's me,
you might have jacked my
following.
lights there or something, bub.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
That's a drone.
I just didn't remember that. Oh wow,
Yeah,
crazy.
a drone is when a remote is attached to my camera. So I'm elevated from a different spot, just so everyone knows from my perspective. And I am following the ball because but I got so good at droning,
Yeah,
following Andy and knowing the way he shot. Andy would trigger my camera because then the flashes would go off.
yeah, yeah.
So, you follow the ball, but if there was like a reaction, if there was a fight, if there was a scuffle, I knew to go to that because
Right.
you told me once, it's not all about the action.
Yeah.
It's about telling a story
Hmm.
about what is going on in that game. And that means shooting the bench, shooting the coach, shooting the crowd.
Hmm.
And these are all things that, like, once you told me that, it triggered me. And I'm so bummed I learned that advice
Hmm.
about 5 years later, already had shooting skateboarding.
Ah, yeah,
Because once you told me that, I started shooting skating from a whole different perspective,
yeah.
shooting the kick out, shooting the victory. My whole first 5 years,
Mhm.
it's just the trick,
Wow.
not shooting portraits. I tell
Yeah.
everyone, if you're shooting skating, shoot a portrait of the person. That portrait's going to be more valuable, not more, but just as valuable as that trick
Right.
in 20 years. Trust me, if it's the right person, and I mean, how much of that do you know I mean, did we think Kobe Bryant was going to be, you know,
Mhm.
arguably the greatest of all time? But, I like he admitted it
Yeah,
on
but
the
that
last
yeah,
dance. He, shout
yeah,
out to Jordan. But,
yeah.
um,
But he was like
I
a
don't,
dunk machine. I always like to say the young Kobe was. If you didn't
oh,
come
yeah,
home with 4 or
hold on,
5
hold on.
dunks, you were
I'm
you were
going to
like it
show
was a bad
you.
night.
I want to show you this because, you know,
Yeah.
this is very special. This is the cover of
Oh my goodness.
Beckett Card Trade. There's a little
And he signed it.
to Atiba. Yeah, yeah. Love Kobe.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you know,
I
it,
want to show a
it's
couple of pictures of you and Kobe.
that's a drone. That's a
Really?
drone shot. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know
And
that.
the finals
Here's
too.
you and the Cobster and the
I mean, okay. Can I just talk about this?
yeah.
I think this is one of the greatest moments in sports history.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
unfortunately, it's me messing up the photo.
No, stop.
We needed,
Yeah.
we needed Powell giving that pound. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
will say, besides that black and white Andrew Reynolds photo,
Mhm.
this is the other photo I'm gonna be known for, and I didn't even freaking take it. So if you look behind, you see Nat
Yes,
Butler.
on the left
So
behind
Nat
you.
goes, dude,
Yeah,
I got the best photo you and Kobe. Because back then it was like take the card, copy it, and then
right.
get the image. And he's like, it's just the back of your head, so you can't tell who you are, but you have this moment, right?
Mm.
2 minutes later, Jesse, take my card, get it downloaded. I have this photo, dude. Jesse shot that.
That's so
You
great.
know,
I love it.
and
Well, then we got this one, which is another one of you and the Mamba, much later. This one after his last game.
his last game,
Remember?
yeah. Oh
And he
yeah,
was walking
I mean,
out, and you went up to him, and you got the credential. It's got the 20 years. Thank you.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. No, that was a really special moment because,
Yeah.
I mean, to see the greatest basketball player walk off the court for the last time, literally to be the guy jamming up the photo again.
That's all right. Wouldn't have
His
done it for
last,
anybody else but you, pal.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the relationship was, and you know, I can only thank one person for my relationship with Kobe, and that's you.
Well,
You know,
I took
you
this
know,
picture too, so you could thank me for that. But
yes, and thank you for this moment. You know, you've
I'm,
actually shot a couple Kobe and
I'm
Kobe
just
moments,
kidding.
but
I'm just
you
kidding.
know, I, you know, we're all very deeply, you know,
Mm,
it's a tough thing for the loss
of
of
course.
everyone on that helicopter. But you know, I would have never known Kobe if I never worked with you.
Well,
So, you know, in my relationship with Kobe, besides working with you, grew into a relationship
mhm,
with him. You know, have shot him, you know, probably, I don't know, 12, 13 different times
mhm, mhm.
over his career. And that moment on that court, the funniest thing about it, you were here this whole time? That's what he said to me. I was like, I don't know how you missed
You should
me.
have
I mean,
said,
on
"No,
a
I just
camera.
got here. Did something
Yeah,
happen?
that would have been
What,
funny.
you
What's
dropped
the big
60 in
deal?
your last game?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?"
I mean, in that last game, let's have 2 seconds to talk about it
Yeah.
because it was so, I was elevated,
Mhm.
and you know, everyone was in the building, and
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, what were you thinking? I remember he got 30 points, and I was like,
Dude,
we just saw the greatest exit in basketball history,
100%. Yeah. I mean, no one in a million years could have
and then
predicted.
it went to 40, and then it went to 50.
No. He said
You
he
know?
couldn't even, he had no lift. He had nothing left in his legs at the end. If you see the replays of the last few
Yeah,
jumpers, he might have got maybe 3 inches off the ground.
totally,
Poor guy was
totally.
just, he,
I know there's like a photo
yeah.
of him. It's not quite a dunk; it's more just a lay, and you can tell he's just like,
Yeah, I know. And I
you
was
know,
in the
and
locker room afterwards, and he was just spent. But you know what? It was such a moment, and to have been there and experienced it. Half of me wishes that I wasn't working because I would have just loved to have watched
yeah.
that whole thing. But I've seen the replay a million times, and I just
Yeah.
savor it.
Well, I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
You know, as a photographer, now that I have you on here, what is your favorite photo you have shot?
Of all time, really?
Hmm.
Probably I'd have to say the Jordan with the trophy with his dad picture. I mean, most people kind of know me, quote unquote, for that picture.
Yeah,
Um, it's hard for me not to point to a Kobe picture, with
yeah,
everything that's happened, but also our
yeah,
relationship and our book together and all. The one of him and the ice, the black and white.
yeah,
It's one of my favorites. There's been a few. It's been
yeah.
a long run, so I've had a few over the years.
What's your single-handed advice if you could give a photographer? What is one tip that you would give them?
Well, I mean, if you want to be a sports photographer, you have to find a sports photographer or a couple of them that you emulate, that you want to meet. You want to get close to them. You want to find out how they work, what makes them tick. It's just like the Mamba mentality, right? I mean, you got to
Hmm.
find out what it is that drives that engine, right? 'Cause if you have any talent, if you have an eye, if you have the desire, you know, those are all the beginnings. But the relentless pursuit, as Kobe would call it, and the curiosity and always wanting to be better, you have to be around people that can teach you that, right?
Yeah,
So somehow or other, you and I got together and, look at both of our friendship, our history together, what your career became. I couldn't be happier for you. I
yeah.
worked for
Thank
great
you.
photographers coming up, Peter Reed Miller and Richard Max and Andy Haight primarily for Sports
Yeah,
Illustrated when I was assisting. And so that's my advice. And if you like sports and you want to shoot sports, you just got to go out and shoot it all the time. And don't
yeah,
forget your camera, right?
yeah.
So
Absolutely,
so, dude, I
absolutely.
got to get into, because I don't want to keep you for too long and this becomes a
No, no.
marathon, but we got to talk about Slam because, your 100th cover is Slam.
Yeah,
I want to show a couple of pictures really quick. I want to show this one of this guy. I mean, I,
yeah,
I almost didn't recognize that this was the young LeBron, the high school LeBron.
yeah.
Oh my
No.
God, that unbelievable picture. I don't remember seeing it published, but thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sending.
I mean, because like then it was published in just like a diary thing. I
Yeah.
mean, this is really a funny story.
Mhm.
I remember getting the call like, hey, and at this point,
Mhm.
I'd shot some covers. I was definitely a go-to guy for them.
Yeah.
I started shooting high schoolers, which, as we know, the joke always is, I'm gonna have you shooting high school basketball, and now that's the cool thing to do, right? Isn't that
Right.
funny?
Right.
Um, but I started with high schoolers and then graduated into shooting NBA players. So I wasn't really shooting high schoolers again. And they were like,
before you go on, I got to show this picture because this one just cracked me up. Talk about high school.
right?
James
I
Harden.
know. I
Anybody
know.
looking at this picture will not recognize it. I only knew
I
it's
know.
James Harden because I knew it had to be somebody famous from Artesia.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I
Pre
didn't even
beard.
realize I shot these photos until 3 years ago. Like
Unbelievable.
literally, I was looking through it and being like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, I shot this photo." So, for me, uh, I I don't regret it because I did any shoot they told me to do. But now I look back at it. If you can shoot the top high schooler, shoot it because then you have these images. But I got LeBron out of a full day of school. He
That's
was a
unbelievable.
junior,
Wow.
full day of school. They were like,
Yeah.
"You're gonna have to go to Akron, Ohio," and I'm like, they're like, "Trust me." I was kind of like, "Really?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Trust me,
That's
you want to go to
crazy.
Akron."
Well, fast forward to this picture, okay?
Yeah,
And I'm probably 10 feet away from you in another
if
set,
that, I was gonna
right?
say
So
6.
we have
Yeah.
this is Laker Media Day this year,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the Lakers hired you to do this very creative, lighting gel thing
Yeah.
that they wanted, which you
Yeah.
obviously
Very
can do in
impressive.
flying colors. And I was right next to you on another seamless set, white seamless. And
Yeah.
I just love watching you work, man, because you are just so smooth and you got it down and it's so simplified and you're locked in with what you want. And the guys love you. I mean, I got to read this quote, all right? And
Okay.
bear with me for a second, but I got a quote from Dennis Page, who's the publisher of Slam, right? He said, every one of those covers is special, those Slam covers, and they get photographed under the most difficult conditions. And most importantly, the players love him, you. He says, you need a dope Slam cover? Call Atiba. And then Adam Figman, who's the chief content officer of
Love Adam.
Slam, right? We reached out. We're not messing around this podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm
He says,
flattered.
Adam says about you, says, Atiba has a way of getting the players to trust him and in turn shoots images that represent the players in a way both they and Slam love. I mean, you can't get better than that, right? You
No,
can't. The
I
client is happy,
appreciate that.
the
Yeah.
players are happy.
Well,
I never see, first of all, I never seen you rattled or sweaty or dude, you're amazing the way you could just
I appreciate. I mean, I've just learned, through different things. I mean, also coming from a skater background and
yeah,
shooting skateboarding, we're getting kicked out.
yeah.
We don't know what the light's like. We don't know, tech scouting. There isn't craft services. This isn't all these things. So for me, when I started doing basketball in a controlled environment in a
Yeah.
studio setting, I was like, this is easy. But I've also looked at photography as one of those things, especially portraiture
Mhm.
with athletes, musicians, or artists.
Yeah.
Everyone besides models and actors, they don't want to be there.
Hmm.
So you need to work as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And I learned that specifically from working with you. You're great at keeping it moving. You know
I
how to
just
keep it
I
going.
just want to get out of there. It's
But for me, my
yeah,
biggest thing too was I think in portrait photographer, there are photographers who are really great, David LaChapelle and stuff, getting wild and zany and making
sure.
their subject get out of their comfort level.
Hmm.
That's not me.
Yeah.
My thing is I want to portray this person
Hmm.
as they are. I do I look them up and catch their vibe
Yeah.
and know your subject and try and make sure they're comfortable because they don't really want to be there.
Hmm.
And also the environment. If my subject sees me stress, then they're going to be stressed.
Yeah.
So regardless if that pack isn't working, which happens all the time, a
Hmm.
camera breaks,
Yeah.
whatever it is, just go, so sorry, one quick sec. Hey, you might be dying inside.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I had that problem with Kobe once. I was doing a Slam cover and it was a composite and he was defending himself.
Mhm.
And it was like there's a lot of checks and balances. The camera's got to be on tripod, the feet got to be marked, tape measures, this, and I didn't have a retoucher on site, which normally is what you'd want to do.
Mhm.
And I remember going, we had to shoot him defending himself in an away and home jersey.
Right.
So he had to be, a uniform change, which was already a big ask. And I flew to Memphis. We were doing it in a hotel room. They'd flown in that night. He woke up early. Of course he did. And I'm like, we're done. We're done. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I think I forgot to get him defending this side. And I was like, Kobe, I am so sorry. Normal player would be like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
He's like, anything for you, Atiba. I
Oh,
know it's going to be good.
that,
And he changed a third time and we got it. And
wow.
you know, when I knew I had to ask because I knew I'd messed up, I remember being like, oh God, you know, and I love him for that. I mean, that was one of the coolest things he did. But, you know, I didn't freak out and be like, you need to do this. I was just like, let me ask nicely and hope, you know? And,
Yeah.
you know, as a photographer, we've all messed up and there are things that we learn from, but
Mhm.
were mistakes that were unfixable. No doubt.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
It happens. It's part of anybody's
Especially
job.
action.
Yeah.
Damn autofocus. I mean, how many times have we
Or the strobes
missed a
don't
moment?
work, or they don't sync
Yeah.
up with the remotes, or
Yeah.
shutter breaks or whatever. But look,
Yeah. I
you got to
remember
adjust.
you really, really making me feel better. There was a Steve Francis shoot that got lost at Slam, and it was a cover shoot that I had done. And
Mm,
I think it was maybe my second cover.
mm.
And I was so hard. I remember going to the game and you were like, dude, what's up with you? I was just like, dude, this photo shoot got thrown away. It was a cover and now they're going to reshoot them on the East Coast. And it's not going to be me. Like I was
Film got
down in the dumps.
lost, or what happened? The film,
Yeah, the film got lost.
FedEx
I
lost the
would,
film, or whatever.
I no, I mean, I would send film in a flattened, that's how we did in skating, in a
Sure.
flat UPS. And I think the guy just thought it was empty,
Oh,
the editor, because it got delivered, it got signed for.
oh my
And
God.
you told me a story about some film that got put in a popcorn box,
Right.
and you were like, dude, there are things that are going to happen in your career that are irreversible, and you have to move on and let go.
That's a
And
that's a true story. We used to collect all the film
yeah,
after the
all
game,
the time.
put it in a popcorn box, one of those big.
Oh, it was my favorite part because I would eat this old popcorn. I ate Mike Tyson's donuts once. He
Dude,
had one Krispy Kreme, and I was like, dude, you get hungry after a game.
that's messed up.
And ironically, I saw him at breakfast at the restaurant. He came and sat down 2 tables
Stop.
away from me, and I was like, 12 hours ago, I was eating this dude's Krispy Kreme donuts.
Well, listen, man, I could talk about a million pictures, but I got to know about this one. All right, of
Okay.
all of your amazing slam pictures, I'm not going to say this is my favorite, but this one, production wise, had to
Oh my God.
be one of the most difficult.
This is one of my favorite photos of all time because of the kid with the beanie. He's just so picture perfect. I wish I
Yeah,
had him. I'm gonna crop in and
I
clip
love
him
that
out.
kid. Yeah, they all. But
No, okay. So
this was
this is
your
a
idea, or how did
freaking
this whole thing
nightmare.
come up? Yeah.
No, this was I want to say this was Dennis Page
Oh, okay.
because he really wanted the one day in Harlem vibe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he wanted a big group, you
Right.
know, Steph's for the people, you know.
Yeah.
So they got 100+ kids of all ages, walks of life. Of course, there's a lot of parents there and people, but
Yeah.
it's really funny. They wouldn't let me have a bullhorn. They'd lock the street off. We had officers, but it's Oakland, which is a little hood. They wouldn't let me have a bullhorn. We had cops with the street locked off,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, we have to set the kids here because I had to know my framing. I had, you know, we had to stand in for Steph, you know, it was everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I need this bullhorn because I have a feeling when Steph shows up, people aren't going to pay attention. They're like, bullhorn will attract attention. It's like maybe a different permit, you know, because it's the editorial shoot. It wasn't a big Nike commercial, or Under Armour, I should say, shoot where everybody, you know, things are paid for, you know, so we're doing it on a budget.
Yeah.
And we have all these kids set. The worst thing happens. Steph walks out of the doors of the Fox Theater. Kids just go running. I mean, no one is in their place. My frame, you know, and of course it's like Steph has, you know, 45 minutes or so. And Steph Curry proved himself to be like literally the coolest dude. He literally was like, kids, 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 kids. Everyone stopped. Like he stopped the kids brought them over and was like, I'll take photos, I'll hang out, but we have to give this man our attention. We need to get this photo.
Yeah.
So that photo shoot was done by Steph. I
Wow.
mean, one of the coolest players I've worked with, no doubt. And
Wow.
if you know me, I bleed purple and gold. So you know
Yeah.
those Warriors are
No, for sure.
a little tough on me at times.
Well, fantastic and great story. Thank you. But Teebs, I got to leave you. We have to leave with this picture because this is such a poignant, amazing photo.
Yeah.
And you know, this picture obviously has been seen by tens or hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah.
We can't. I just can't bear to talk about the tragedy anymore.
Yeah.
Tell me what you remember from this shoot. Okay, and the one
I was
the,
actually
wait,
telling
hold
this
on.
story.
The
Oh, yeah.
one thing that Kobe left you with, his legacy that will live with you forever.
God, it's actually hard to even talk.
Yeah.
You know, I look back at this. I got the call. I mean, obviously, when Kobe retired, we knew, at least for me, you know, we weren't going to shoot him much anymore. I mean, I didn't think I was really going to shoot him again.
Mhm.
I knew I would see him, but I didn't know I would shoot him. Uh, but when I got the call for this shoot, I was like, whoa, you know, I was very excited because, you know, slam shoots, luckily, they're still happening, and you get, you know, we're on to the next generation. You
Mhm.
know, we're on to Trey Youngs and stuff like that, and that's the nature of the sport. So when I got the call, hey, you're gonna shoot Kobe, I was like, this is amazing. Like, what is the angle? Was what I was thinking. What you know, because he had retired into a different person, and they were like, it's with Gigi and the team, and I was like, oh, this is amazing because we all, you know, all of us got to see Gigi grow up. You
Yeah.
know, I've seen Kobe win every ring. You've obviously seen beyond that, but you know, I mean, all the girls, you know, they're just the girls,
Yeah.
and his relationship with them was so precious because we all know Mamba mentality is intense,
Hmm.
and the fact that he could turn something off that was so intense and open up his heart
Hmm.
to his daughters was always the most beautiful thing to see every time after he won. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you and I know, like, I told this story last night. He wouldn't talk to me. I could shoot him before a game, an hour before, and shoot around. He is not looking or talking to me. He
Hmm.
is focused, and that's it. You
Yeah.
know, that Chris Rock thing is real.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, but as soon as he won those games, what the smile came up. Those girls lit that dude's life up. So to be able to shoot them
Yeah.
together was an amazing thing. But this is a story, and you know, as tragic as it all is, you know, there are these stories that make me love this guy. So I brought this pro skater, Sean Malto, legendary's won first place as a street league, currently ranked #9 Olympic skater.
Mhm.
I bring him because I know Kobe gets excited when I bring skaters. Kobe loves skateboarding.
Yeah.
And, you know, I brought Paul to your guys' book party, who was the first people he comes in to hang out with, me and Paul, you know, and he loves skating. And I was like, you know, this is Sean Malto, a huge skater right now, you know, and Sean nervously goes, you know, like, hey, so you guys do this like, you know, a couple times a week? And he goes, think this is a fucking game? We do this every day. It just keeps going. The mama mentality. And then he walks up to me and goes, Tiba, we got to make this quick.
Yeah.
We got practice.
Yeah. I love
You
that.
know?
That was his
And
thing. That was his
yeah,
thing. Come
yeah,
on, Andy.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And, you
Yeah.
know, it was so beautiful. I mean, I did not shoot that picture thinking that that was going to be that type of picture. You
Mm.
know, you shoot every picture to be your best, but that shoot was special. All the girls, you know, Vanessa running in to like fix Gigi's hair. I mean, it was so beautiful. But the greatest thing I got to see was the practice,
Mm.
and to sit and watch him interact with not just Gigi, not treat her specially, work with all the girls on the team.
Yeah.
And you know, he was the dude bringing the bag of balls into the practice. He was the last dude to bring it out, and he loved. You know, I was saying this last night to someone that I love that he took. You know, women's basketball to me never got enough attention.
Mhm.
I shot early WNBA games at the Forum. You know, I've seen that grow, and I think that's what's so cool about Kobe. Kobe could do so many things to be like, this is the cool, predictable thing to do in retirement. People to
Right.
work with. No, he was working with his daughter's basketball team. You know, like that shows how much of a great heart he had for everybody from all types, all walks of life. You know, he
Mhm.
could have been the dude like, hey, I'm gonna just train the next Kobe. No, he didn't care about that. He just wanted to bring his love and knowledge to basketball to everyone, and that's what I think makes him literally one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Well, thank you for making this amazing photo and leaving that with all of us forever.
Yeah,
And it's a beautiful picture, father and daughter, right there.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
the you know
Show,
you know
show it one more
looking.
time before we say
Yeah,
goodbye. Here it
yeah.
comes. I mean, the same look in the eye, even the same body language.
Yeah,
It's like,
no, I mean, shooting that practice, because I've only seen Gigi on the court
Mhm.
as holding up trophies with her father, you
Right,
know,
right.
and
Yeah,
man, I mean,
beautiful.
there's so many tragic things about that, but you know, the world, the positive that I say about it is they were so special.
Hmm.
The world, their energy was so amazing. We just have to realize we're so lucky to be touched with the little time we had with them on this planet, because the planet couldn't handle any more time because they were that special. It's just, you know, there aren't people like that. They don't, you know, and you know how it is. You've seen so many players come and go in this sport, and there's no diss to those guys, because if you make it in this sport, you are great, no matter who you are. But there are the exponential.
Oh, absolutely. And look, it's a big full circle for us because we essentially met because of Kobe. If you really think
100%.
about it.
Yeah, if I think if I hadn't done good on that shoot, you know, I would have been clipped. And you you know, I
I don't
remember
believe that. Yeah.
you know, I 100% think our connection and the way we worked together, me and you
Mhm.
and Kobe, you know, it was special. You know, I mean, Goldstein, who he became, who that house became, Big Lebowski, it's kind of this crazy full circle thing. And that's why I loved your book, Mama Mentality, because as someone who's done it in skaters, with skaters in skateboarding, it's really special
Mhm.
to start a relationship with someone at the beginning of their career and to see it all the way through. And for you, you've done that before, but this is literally one of the greatest of all time. You got to see every single day.
Mhm.
And how many people on the planet get to do that with someone? What,
Well,
maybe 10? You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, Grant Britton with Tony Hawk, me with Andrew Reynolds. Like, you know, it's a special relationship, especially though when the person becomes a great, you
Mhm.
know, like,
Mhm.
you know, not Butler saw Patrick Ewing,
Yeah.
but Patrick never won a ring. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
you
that's
know, and this guy spent his whole career there.
yeah.
What? There's not, you know, Michael Jordan didn't even do that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you're right,
I
and
gotta
you
say
know,
that one.
we could go on forever about
Yeah, we could.
so many things that we can share. Maybe we'll do a part two of this thing down the road, my
I'm
friend.
100%. I'm gonna ask you more questions though, because I want to
Well,
flip
maybe you
this.
come and sit on this side, and I'll be on the other
Yes,
side.
that would be
We'll figure.
fun,
Maybe do
man.
it like a like because you know your DJ career. We haven't even talked about that. I mean,
It's
that's like your next life or your current life. You and your brother just killing it with the DJ thing all over the world. By the way,
we
um,
have been all over the
so
world.
so maybe we do a guest hosting thing. Let's think
Yeah,
about that. We'll talk about
yeah.
it. I'll talk to my producer about it.
Yeah,
We'll figure it all out. But
I love it.
Atiba, I love you, man. I
I
absolutely
love
love
you
you.
so much.
And we have had so much history. We got more history to
Yeah,
do together.
yeah.
We got to get back on
I'm
the
staying
court, first of
positive.
all.
Yes, yeah. Let's,
Yeah.
everyone be safe physically and mentally in this really trying time. We can't forget it is a pandemic, but
Mhm.
we're also seeing America go through some painful stuff that
Yes.
is, there are sacrifices for this growing process, and
Mhm.
just staying positive, and hopefully, yeah, I you know me and you started together. We took our own turns, and we're doing other things. And in the last, what, 3 seasons, going back to shoot NBA awards and being back working with you with Media Day,
Yeah.
my NBA family, I'm so lucky. I did depart and do my own thing, but like, as an adult, being able to go back and work with you is so special, because I realize that normally doesn't happen, and the family we have with Gui and everyone,
Yeah.
it's like, I didn't realize how special of a friendship I was going to have for my lifetime when I met you guys. So,
Well,
I appreciate that. And I know we're going to be back doing it, because
well,
humans are resilient.
yeah. I mean, love for photography, love for basketball brought us together and will keep
Yeah.
us together forever. So,
I love that. What a great
uh,
way to go out.
love you, man. Listen, thanks so much
Dude,
for making the time today.
absolutely. I hope the audio is good, and I hope
Yeah,
everything looks
everything was
good.
great. It was great to see
Perfect.
you. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know.
So.
I know.
All
Damn
right, man.
pandemic.
Be
I'll
safe.
see you soon. Stay
Stay
safe.
well.
Love
Okay.
you.
Hopefully, see you out on the court at some point, somewhere, sometime soon.
Absolutely, I will.
Okay.
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 Bye.
Well, my buddy Atiba could literally talk forever. I love that guy, and never at a loss for words. So passionate about what he does, and an icon, a true icon in the world of skating and basketball photography. So thank you, Atiba. Thank you for making the time. I got to mention this DJ thing that you and your brother Akko are doing worldwide. I mean, you guys are just mind blowing. So keep up the good work. Keep what you're doing. I don't know how you have the energy to do it. But again, thank you for making the time for us today. And we'll all keep following your career. And hopefully, we'll have a lot more to talk about down the road. So, folks, we really want to thank our friends at Think Tank for donating a backpack for each of our episodes of the Sports Photographer series. Please keep checking our social media, and we will be giving you the details on how to qualify for the backpack, what the backpack will be. Our social media, of course, at Legends of Sport on Instagram. Our Twitter is at Legends_of Sport, and our blog, legendsofsport.blog. My photography can be found at ADB Photo Inc. Keep coming back, folks. We have a lot more planned for you on the Sports Photographer series. Got a lot of friends in the business, a lot of people I want to talk to. We're also open to suggestion if there are legendary photographers that you would like us to reach out to speak to them. We're definitely open to any suggestion you might have on our social media. So keep coming back, keep downloading, keep telling your friends, and we will see you down the road. Stay safe, stay well.